All right. Okay, we are live. This is a special Thursday pre-Oscar Mike radio show, and I'm doing this on Boomcaster. You can find out more on boomcaster.com. I want to thank Andrew from Parade Deck for getting me connected with this platform. I really like it. And so this is all new, all special, all good. And we're doing this because I have to be Semper Gumby now. It's just really exciting. I've got shows out to almost July of this year. And I got an email from Scott Lara with the Non-Commissioned Officers Association to talk with me about the organization, his service, what he's doing, and the need for veteran engagement right now. Scott Lara, welcome to Oscar Mike Radio.
It's an honor to be on the show. Thank you so much.
So you reached out to me, and I knew there was a military officers association, of course. I mean, the officers would definitely have one for them, but I didn't never realize that there was like a non-commissioned officers. And is that for E4s and E5s only, or does that cover E4s up through E9s?
E1 all the way up through E9. If you're enlisted, if you are currently enlisted, the Non-Commissioned Officers Association, been around since 1960, representing the needs of the enlisted personnel.
So I got out as a terminal lance, but I'm not a non-commissioned officer. Now explain that to the Marine in me. I know you're Navy, but how's that work? Because I'm not tracking.
No, that's okay. The fact of the matter is, Navy, Marine, Air Force, Coast Guard, E1, whatever you're called, a seaman or corporal, lance, whatever it is, all the way up to E9, like for, senior master chief or whatever. If you're enlisted, if you're currently enlisted, you're active duty, or you're former enlisted, you are eligible to be a member of the Non-Commissioned Officers Association. And basically what we do is to represent the needs of our members, to protect the benefits we've earned up on Capitol Hill. And one of the cool things we have are medallions. They're kind of like challenge coins. And we sell those to raise money for sponsorship and other types of opportunities, educational opportunities. And like, let's say you have a father or grandfather or an uncle who served in like Korea or Vietnam or World War II. You can buy one of these, coins, and they're very heavy. They're very sturdy, to be able to give that to a relative to say, thank you for your service. And, the tears that come out of these folks' eyes to be honored is, man, you can't put a price tag on that.
So what did you do in the Navy before we start? Well, I mean, before we started talking, of course, but what was your military career like, please?
That's a good question. I was 18 years old working in the Kmart camera department right outside of Chicago. I used to do the blue light specials, and maybe at the end I'll do one for you. But the thing is that my assistant manager said, "Hey, Scott," and I said, "Hey, what?" He goes, "What do you want to do with your life?" I said, "Well, I don't want to go to college." He goes, "Join the Navy, see the world." The problem is he didn't tell me the world was 75% water. So left Chicago. I went to San Diego for boot camp, went over to Virginia Beach for radarman, operations specialist radar school, went up to Maine to get my ship, Morrison FFG 13. It was in 3 pieces. They put it together.
Bath, Maine, right?
We sailed it down to Boston, got commissioned there, then went to Mayport, Florida, where I met my wife. Married 41 years, two adult children. They're 40 and 38, and 3 grandkids. I wish I would have had my grandkids first.
Wait a minute, you got a 41-year-old kid?
I have a 40-year-old daughter and a 38-year-old. It's Botox. It's Botox.
I was going to say, man.
And the hair is real. The hair is real. But anyway, I get that on my YouTube channel, man. Is that your real hair? Yes, it is. But anyway, the thing is, so I joined the Navy, went to Italy, Spain, France, Suez Canal, been to Panama, been all over the world as a radarman. Got out after 9 years and started my civilian journey, working in the home health industry, helping veterans. I worked in the substance abuse area, helping veterans. And now I'm director of program development with the Non-Commissioned Officers Association, helping with membership, helping with sponsorships, and just having fun doing it.
So you reached out to me, and I knew there was a military Officers Association. I knew that, but I didn't know there was a non-commissioned officers association. We'll get into that in a minute. But you had a very specific reason for wanting to reach out to me now. You're like, hey, I can't wait till July when your show cycle over. I've got a need now. I'm like, well, okay, we can be Semper Gumby, but this is not going to be the normal experience. We're having a good conversation anyway. But you had a very specific reason. There's something on your mind that you want to share with veterans and people about the state of things as they are now. Go into that for me, please, because I think in a lot of ways, a lot of people are very interested in what you have to say.
I'm moved and touched by you asking. Thank you. And thank you for having me on the show. I'm very concerned about the benefits that you, myself, and our fellow veterans have earned. I'm concerned they're under attack. And I don't mean to sound like a crying wolf in the night. I'm not, but I'm not wearing my glasses now, but I wear bifocals. I can see near and I can see far. And if we don't stand up as veterans and as enlisted personnel to protect our benefits that we've earned by joining the Non-Commissioned Officers Association, then what's going to happen? We're going to have elected officials, many who have not served. We have other folks who are looking at the VA, and I get my care through the VA. I recently had dual hernia surgery through.
Oh, wow.
I've been in the mental health space where, people are trying to get help. We all know about veteran suicide. It's off the chart. People killing themselves out in front of a VA hospital. If we don't band together and join the NCOA and other associations, then we'll only have ourselves to blame when our benefits are cut. Give you an example. I wear VA hearing aids because I was stationed at Camp Lejeune. And yes, I'm Navy, but I ran a hospital barracks there. And I love the Marines. God bless them. When hell comes to breakfast, you want a Marine. My brother was a Marine. And, but also for the Marines, just remember at the top of the paycheck, it says Department of the Navy. But that's beside the point. The fact of the matter is, we've got to fight. And see, everyone thinks, oh, it's going to be okay. We put our trust in these politicians. We put our trust. I'll tell you something. You fight for your marriage. You fight for your kids. You fight for your grandkids. You fight for your job. And as veterans, we fought. Even in peacetime. We're up there. When I was in the Navy, midnight. I'm up at midnight sitting in the radar room. My brother Jamie was in the Marines, first Gulf War. He actually fought. So we just got to band together right now. Join the Non-Commissioned Officers Association. It's very inexpensive. I think it's like $30 a year. And join us so that we can let our elected officials know that we are not going to go silently into the night regarding the benefits we've earned.
I'm trying to paste the link to the website in the chat there so everybody can see it. There is this aspect, right? Even before this last year's election, I remember about a year ago, about this time, the idea was floated that, hey, you know what? Veterans overall are getting a whole lot of benefits. We could save some money if we cut them. I think it was maybe at the midterms or right after the midterms, they wanted to try this. And it got really interesting that, oh, wow, there's somebody actually out there who says that, we don't rate the programs, benefits, and services to us. And it's my understanding that, once people start cutting things, it's really difficult, if not impossible, to get those added back. So here's my question. Why is it so hard, Scott, to get our brothers and sisters in arms to get around this issue? Why are a lot of them just seem like, well, if it's cut, doesn't bother me. I'm not hurt. I don't care. I'm not saying everybody does that, but there's a lot of people that do.
The question, to answer that question is, I think everybody's got their stuff they're doing. They're going grocery shopping. They're going to work every day. They're taking care of their kids, their grandkids. Maybe they got an illness or something like that. But I've worked with veterans who have received home health care. One of the Marines here in Jacksonville that I know was one of the first ones diagnosed with PTSD back in the day. And I can understand the apathy. I can understand, and I see this a lot from, 70, 80-year-old veterans they say, I want my benefits to go to the guy from Afghanistan or the guy from Iraq or the guy from, I'm 70, 80. I'm good. I only have a couple of years left. Well, I'll tell you something. You, me, and the people watching this podcast, this show, we raised our hands at 18, 19, whatever. We put our names and our lives on the line for our country. And I have no problem at all when I'm standing at a Jacksonville Jaguars game and they say, you know, if you're a member of the military, a veteran, stand and be, I'm right on my feet. I am proud of the service I did in the Navy, and I will be darned if we allow people to take our benefits away. As I mentioned about the means testing, somebody said.
Now, what is the means testing? Just remind me here.
Yeah, means testing, which is like, you know, I'm 10% disabled because of my hearing, my tinnitus. Well, somebody was saying at one of these hearings, well, what about means testing? You know, Scott, you know, where did you get tinnitus? And, you know, just because you were on a ship and just because you're around all these guns, does that really mean you have ringing in your ears all the time? Yeah, I do. And a lot of guys, it gets to the point where that ringing in the ears is loud and it can drive you to suicide. You know, and that's where I got to give a shout out to the Fire Watch here in Jacksonville, Florida, trying to prevent veteran suicide. But the point I'm just trying to say is we need to rise up. And that's what I do. I mean, I'm a voice, you know, I'm out there in the media. I'm out here on social media, you know, not only encourage our members of NCOA to ask one more person to be a member, but to ask people, because you didn't even know. You didn't even know there was an association for enlisted personnel. And don't feel bad. A lot of people don't. But that's my job as a kind of a brand ambassador and kind of what I do is to get the word out. Join us, $30. Let us represent you in the halls of Congress. We have lots of benefits also, travel discounts and all kinds of discounts. But our number one priority is to protect the benefits we've earned.
So I got the link to Firewatch from Jacksonville in the chat right now. And I think you bring up a good point. You know, a lot of people don't know, and I didn't know, and I don't know what I don't know. I guess my next question would be is, we have the American Legion, we have the VFW, we have the AMVETS. How are you with the Non-Commissioned Officers Association different from them? Because they'll say, hey, we're like the VFW will say, we're the largest VSO organization in the United States. We have the voice to represent you. And so a lot of people like get confused, like, well, if we have the VFW and the American Legion, why do we need all these other orgs?
You know, that's a good question. And I appreciate that because, yeah, you know, but I will tell you, my colleagues with these other associations I don't believe they will say, hey, we're the only one. I know with NCOA, we work with these partners. We work with disabled vets. We work with VFW because we're stronger when we're together, right? And, you know, maybe VFW, I mean, just, and correct me if I'm wrong, when you think of VFW, we're thinking of 70, 80, 90-year-old guys, World War II. Well, NCOA, you know, a lot of our members are 20, 30, 40 years old. I'm 63. I know I don't look it. It's Botox. But the fact is that we need, let's look at car insurance. You got USAA, you got Allstate, you know, all of them are providing car insurance, right? You got different cruise lines. You got Royal Caribbean, you got Carnival, you got MSC, AMA Waterways, you got all kinds of cruise lines. You know, you can go on whatever one you want to, but, you know, don't you want to have that choice and don't you want to have options? And, you know, I love cruising. I mean, I love being because of the Navy, but it's a good question. I think all the organizations are working hard together, but all I can tell you is with the Non-Commissioned Officers Association, founded, you know, it's 1960, we're out there hitting the pavement every day to represent our members and to give them the benefits that come with it.
Well, and I think that's needed. And certainly, you know, more insurance companies are not a bad thing. As to people out in California, but more word getting spread is also not a bad thing. And I do get concerned, Scott, because, you know, a lot of veterans get out of the military and they it's not like they, and I get it, they're done. They're moving on with life. They got kids, wife, career. But I'm like, we still need you to be counted. You know, you might not need this today. 15, 20 years might change things. And I mean, what's going through your mind when you realize there's Korean War and Vietnam and Desert Storm 1 vets suffering today because they feel like they don't deserve the benefits because they came home. And it's what's going through your head when you talk to one of these guys, because they're out there.
You make a very good point. I mentioned before the show, my wife's grandfather was a World War II bombardier, got shot down once, and he rarely talked about his service. But he was always the kind of the one, hey, I've got money, I got stocks, I can pay for my own health care. He could have gone through the VA. You know, if we don't use the VA, then, you know, it's kind of, remember in the military, I remember we got to spend all our money before the end of the fiscal year, because if we don't, we'll have less money next year. It's the same way. If we don't use the VA, if we're not getting our hearing aids, you know, our you know, and now the VA is even saying if you don't go every year for your medical exam, you know, you got to reapply. And listen, I, as a man, you know, men, right? Especially you Marines, you know, the colonoscopy and all this kind of stuff.
Oh,
You know, you've got to get that done for your family, for your kids and your grandkids. The prep is the worst part, okay? But you get that colonoscopy, you get the nodules out of there, you're good to go. Colon cancer is horrible. But the VA, I mean, I went to the VA, they took care of me. I'm great. My hernia surgery, they took care of me. And so use it or lose it. That's my friends who are watching, use it or lose it. Take advantage. That's not even taking advantage. It's use the services that we're being given, because mark my words, if you don't use them, if you have the kind of attitude that, okay, I want somebody else to get it, that pie is going to shrink. We're going to have people looking at us saying, oh, well, you know, all this fraud, waste, and abuse, there's too many people. I don't know who, if you watch the news, those folks in the audience, but I mean, there was like a federal hiring freeze. Fortunately, it got flipped over, but, you know, they're going to start limiting, you know, doctors, nurses, all these people. And we need more. We need more good. We need more good doctors and more good medical people at the VA to take care of us. So all I can say, if you have any questions, just email me directly, slara@ncoausa.org. Email me if you have any questions. I'd be happy to answer them. And, you know, let's work together, because if we don't, mark my words, you know, I was saying before the broadcast, I have bifocals. I can see far and I can see near, and I can see what's happening. And I'm not trying to sound the alarm here and cry wolf, but and that's what Oscar Mike is here, talking out this podcast and other podcasts to educate us on all these issues. And I just want to educate everyone. Let's band together now while we still can.
so I put the email in the chat there, Scott's email. You can look at it and reach out to him about it. But I just go back to what I've learned, you know, doing this and having to be exposed to this part of veterans advocacy, where you're right. If you don't use it, you lose it. There is some other entity in our government that will be more than happy to take those funds and put them somewhere else. And, you know, the thing is, our government, well, we'll see, but in the past has not been afraid to use that money on non-Americans or non-American interests. So I think it's imperative that we do that. What's been the most rewarding thing out of being involved with the NCOA, Scott?
Oh my gosh, just talking to fellow veterans.
Yeah.
It's even like just talking with you. We just met, you know, like the other day, and I feel like I already know you. And
good.
That's cool, is working with other veterans, sharing those, you know, so many people say guys don't, you know, we have surface stuff and we, you know, listen, you know, it's the guys, you know, we have a camaraderie. You know, I'm friends with, from my friends on Facebook who we serve together. And that bond, you cannot break that bond. You know, it's almost like being like in a fraternity in college. You know, you have a bond that nobody else has. And I mentioned about the Jaguar game, you know, when they say the military day, you know, stand up, you know, and clap. Okay. Ring the bell. Okay. They could have put us in better seats. They put us up in 400, but that's what the point I'm trying to say is that what's most rewarding for me is fighting for our veterans and talking to them, you know, sharing experiences, and it really gives meaning to your life, you know?
For sure, for sure. And, you know, I just think back about the Camp Lejeune water issue and how hard Marines and their families had to work to get the government to actually do something about it. And so you can't just sit there and think that things are going to magically happen for you if you let them go. I mean, look at what it took to get the PACT Act passed. I thought about that. I mean, if people had had their way, they just would have let these guys keep suffering. It was really a wake-up call.
If it weren't for Jon Stewart, I mean, you folks in the audience, I don't care if you're a Democrat or Republican, if it wasn't for Jon Stewart standing on the Capitol steps, pounding his fist and having those firemen behind him when he was talking about, 9/11, but talking about the veterans. God bless John Smith. I think he got a Presidential Medal of Freedom or something, but he fought for us. And yes, we all raised our hands. We all fought. Some of us didn't physically fight, but we were there protecting our country. I was, and so were you. Now's the time to do it. And if you have any questions, just you can go to our website, ncoausa.org. Check out what we're all about. You'll see, what we do, the benefits we have. And let me just tell you, I have fun doing it. I wake up every morning. I'm healthy. I'm happy. And yeah, I was at Camp Lejeune too. And I'm glad I have benefits through the VA because I was stationed at Camp Lejeune. But I was saying before the show, my next door neighbor, very sweet young lady, died of a cancer, one of those 15 cancers. And she was young. She was beautiful. She was like a soccer mom. And her husband was a Marine right there over on Incheon Street there in Terrawat at Camp Lejeune. And they denied. The Marines threw up whatever. It's like, no, it was that laundromat there and the poison water that was in the system that made a lot of people sick. A lot of people died. And I'm glad we have the PACT Act.
It was something else, and it goes into something that I truly believe. I think we have to not only join organizations like yours, like the Non-Commissioned Officers Association. I tell people, and you can tell me if I'm full of it or not, I really believe our next phase of advocacy is to wake up civilians and say, hey, we need you. Because think about it, it's for me, there's so many civilians who got behind what I've done as Oscar Mike Radio and other things. There's civilians like Jon Stewart with, love him or hate him, he went up there guns blazing, and I would agree. He got the attention focused. It's civilians like that will fight for us that we need to engage with as veterans. So
I agree with you 100%. I think civilians have a unique role too. Yes, of course, us as veterans, but I think civilians can be too. They can be a voice for us. And speaking of that, our annual conference is in July in Norfolk, and you'll see that on our website. But if you know of anybody that's a company or that has this product or service that wants to share those products and services with us, you can email me. I'd be happy to talk to those companies. Or if you're an owner of a company that wants to share their benefit, what their services are at our upcoming convention, I'd appreciate it.
All right. Well, Scott, thanks for being flexible. Thanks for being super Gumby. Thanks for, really sharing passionately about your mission and the mission of NCOA and the Non-Commissioned Officers Association. And I want to say to the Boomcaster folks and Andrew Appleton of Parade Deck, this has been a very positive experience. Love the platform. Thank you. So again, we're here with Scott Lara, concerned Navy veteran, is like, hey, we need to take action now. And I think the thing is, we have to. We can't just sit on the sidelines and expect others to do it for us. So I want to thank you for sharing with us, Scott. And as we say in Oscar Mike Radio, we're Oscar Mike, mission in flight. Thank you.